I watched every Scooby-Doo Holiday themed episode and ranked them from worst to best. Now, Scooby-Doo and the gang have had 13 different shows since the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You show premiered in 1969, and in most of those iterations there had been at least one Christmas or holiday-themed episode. Now, this tradition began in the original show with the episode That's Snow Ghost, where the gang replaced their usual attire for a more winter-themed apparel, and these outfits, or at least versions of them, would be used to mark the holiday episodes from that point on. I watched every single one from every single iteration, with a few exceptions, but I'll explain those at the end of the video. Now, for my rankings of the Scooby-Doo holiday-themed episodes. Coming in last place, ranking at number 15, is a surprising entry. Wrath of the Krampus from the Mystery Incorporated show. Now, personally, Mystery Incorporated is my favorite of the Scooby-Doo shows, so why is this episode at the bottom of the list? It's not winter or Christmas themed at all. Pretty simple. In fact, the only thing Christmas about it, which made it qualified for the list, is the fact that the monster for the episode is Krampus, which is like an evil demon Santa Claus. The Mystery Incorporated show tells one long arcing story, and this episode in particular is filled with information and plot points that are very important for the long arcing storyline, but when it comes to a holiday episode that you want to throw on with your family, this one isn't it. So it's at the bottom. Number 14, The Night of the Living Toys. The Night of the Living Toys is an episode from the show The New Scooby-Doo Mysteries. Now, sometimes this is lumped in as a Scooby and Scrappy-Doo episode. Either way, it's not very good. Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy are hired by the owner of a toy shop to help solve who is stealing the money from his safe. And it's not very interesting, to be honest, and I found myself struggling to pay attention. Plus, it gets some points taken away because it's not necessarily Christmas or holiday themed. It's just about a toy shop with elves as the main monsters. So while it's definitely in the ballpark, which got it on the list of Scooby-Doo holiday episodes, it's not quite festive enough. Number 13, South Pole Vault. Another of the new Scooby-Doo mysteries. This is actually the second half of the same episode that had Night of the Living Toys. And this episode sees Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy in the South Pole helping out scientists and baby penguins. It's more interesting than Night of the Living Toys, but only by a hair. And like this one only gets punished due to the fact that it's practically the same as most of all of the early holiday episodes, but it doesn't do it as well. Like all of these early winter episodes have the same physical comedy gags, usually ending it all with a giant snowball trapping the bad guy. And this one has all of that, it's just not as good as some of the others. 12th on the list is That's Snow Ghost, the very first winter-themed episode of Scooby-Doo ever from the original Scooby-Doo Where Are You show. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of diehard fans to find this so low on the list, but I have a good reason for it. The episode is really fun and it's creepy, and it's way more interesting than the two previous rankings, plus it's the very first one to utilize the snow-themed slapstick gags like the rolling snowball. So it should be considered way higher, right? Maybe even number 1. But the biggest reason that this one is lower on the list is that other than the fact that it takes place in the snow, that's about as holiday themed as it gets. Plus, I didn't intend for this one to be this low, it's just the fact that Scooby has so many really fantastic holiday themed episodes that this one was just like traveling farther and farther down the list. Number 11 on the list is A Scary Night with a Snow Beast Fright from the Scooby-Doo show, which has a giant snow T-Rex as the monster, which is, sick as hell. It's really fun and I genuinely enjoyed it throughout. This one is less focused on a mystery and it's more about Scooby and Shaggy running away from that dope snow T-Rex. It's a lesser known episode, but I think it deserves the number 11 spot on the list, which, by the way guys, there's only 15 episodes on the list. So when something is towards the bottom of the list, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or that I'm hating on it, it just means that the episodes towards the top are really great. Now, breaking into the top 10 Scooby-Doo holiday episodes is Alaskan King Coward. This is actually a Scooby-Doo short from the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show. It's only 8 minutes and it resembles more of a Tom and Jerry cartoon than a Scooby-Doo one. It's just Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, and they're running away from a real monster. Plus, there's no reveal or mystery or anything. It got a higher ranking than others in large part to the fact that it's only 8 minutes. 8 minutes is plenty of time to tell the story where Shaggy and his canine companions are running around doing their jokes that they usually do. In fact, there's a lot of episodes on this list that could have used a shorter runtime, like Night of the Living Toys, and it maybe would have ranked higher if it was shorter. Number 9 is Snow Job Too Small, also a short from the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show. This one is really awesome. Basically, Shaggy, Scoob, and Scrappy get hired by a really bratty kid to get him safely to his family estate in time to receive his inheritance. And they actually have a mystery in the short, and they have all the fun winter gags, and it's all packed into 8 minutes. Rolling into number 8 is an episode from the Scooby-Doo show called What a Shocking Ghost. What? Because of electricity. This one was hard for me to rank because it's definitely a winter episode and a fun one, but the ghost itself isn't holiday or winter themed at all, and I originally had this way lower on the list, but then my number 1 on the list changed my mind completely, so stick around to see what that is. What a Shocking Ghost introduces a classic Scooby villain, the 10,000 Volt Ghost. A real Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed legend over here. It's a fun mystery, and I think it deserves this spot in the top 10. 7th on the list is Rocky Mountain Yee from the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy show. This is an episode with the whole gang, including Scrappy, and it ranks high on the list because I really enjoyed the monster for this one. The ghost of Jeremiah Pratt, great-grandfather of Chris Pratt. Probably. It's got a creepy ski lodge, plenty of snow gags, and it's a fun mystery. It's a great representation of a Scooby-Doo holiday episode. And the only downside to this episode is that the voice of Scrappy is different in this version. Like, he sounds like an old man from New York.
Don't worry, Shaggy. I'm just winding up to splat him.
Ranking in at number 6 is There's No Creature Like Snow Creature from What's New Scooby-Doo. What's New Scooby-Doo is one of the best versions of Scooby-Doo on TV, in my opinion, and what they did with this episode was really neat. They take every holiday episode from the early shows, and here is a modern one all wrapped up. All the classic jokes and bits, even the giant snowball scooping up the villain. It has the advantage of being more modern so that the story structure and mystery is more advanced and palatable for modern audiences, which gave it a huge boost in my rankings. Now we're hitting the top 5 with the episode Be Cold Scooby-Doo from the 2015 Scooby show, Be Cool Scooby-Doo. Be Cool is a more comedy-focused version of Scooby-Doo and Mystery Inc., which gets a lot of heat from hardcore fans. I think the Family Guy-esque character designs put off a lot of people, but the show is extremely funny and I enjoyed it a ton. Some of the best writing for a Scooby-Doo show ever. And this episode is no slouch. It's a classic ski resort winter episode equipped with a snowman monster, something that we have seen a ton on this list so far, and this one is just a blast to watch. After I watched each episode, I gave them a rating out of 10, and this one got a 9, so that just shows you how great the entire top 5 is. Number 4 is Scooby-Doo Haunted Holidays. Now this is another one that I had a hard time with because it's technically a direct-to-video movie, even though it's only 22 minutes long, so I decided to include it on the list. One of my rules were that I weren't going to include full-length movies like the recently released Chill Out Scooby-Doo because it has an unfair advantage due to the fact that it has a whole hour and a half to tell its story. But for Haunted Holidays, it's only a 22-minute movie. So, you know, this one is very Christmas themed, which you'll find that all of the top 5 are. I felt like if you were wanting to watch a Scooby-Doo Christmas movie around the holidays, the ones that are very holiday themed and not just winter themed should rank higher. And this one is a lot more darker and more serious. A lot like the other video on demand Scooby movies, it looks phenomenal and it tells a really great mystery. And the reason that it didn't rank higher than 4 is because it's not as fun as the others. You know, the real Santa Claus shows up, so that's pretty dope, but you know, people, you know, we're trying to watch something fun for the holidays here. Number 3 on the list might be so high because I have such a deep nostalgia for it, the Nutcracker Scoob. Now, this is the first Christmas themed episode of Scooby-Doo ever. The others before it were just winter themed, but this one I had on VHS, man, and I watched it all the time. It has a fantastic monster with the ghost of Christmas Never and a really awesome setting with a children's home. It's got a wacky Scrooge character as the red herring, and man, I just really love this episode. I would have ranked it as number 1, but I think I'm too emotionally biased, so it's at number 3. We're almost at the number 1 greatest Scooby-Doo holiday themed episode ever, but first we have to have the second greatest Scooby-Doo holiday themed episode ever. Number 2 on the list is A Scooby-Doo Christmas from What's New Scooby-Doo. The gang arrives at a town where they don't celebrate Christmas and they have to fight off a headless snowman. It's just a really great mystery and Scooby-Doo episode in general. I don't have the emotional attachment to this episode like I do with some of the early ones, especially Nutcracker Scoob, but I would be lying if I put this any lower on the list. It's everything that you could want from a Scooby-Doo holiday episode. Finally, we're at number 1 on the list, the greatest Scooby-Doo holiday episode of all time, and this might upset some people, but I really believe it. Scary Christmas from the Be Cool Scooby-Doo show. Again, people don't like this show, but I think that they're wrong. This episode is about the gang showing up on Christmas Day at a very Christmas-centered town, but the mystery isn't about Christmas. And Fred is upset because he wants to save Christmas on Christmas, and Daphne is upset because it's her birthday and it always gets overshadowed by Christmas, and Velma just wants to focus on the mystery at hand, but Shaggy and Scooby are busy working out so that they can burn enough calories for their giant Christmas feast. It's honestly so funny and probably my favorite episode of Be Cool Scooby-Doo ever. It's a great mystery, has a fun monster, and it's super funny. Plus, it's filled with a ton of Christmas and holiday spirit. I mentioned before that I had changed my list up because of my number one, and it's because the monster in Scary Christmas is a dinosaur, and he's not winter or Christmas related, but that's on purpose. And so I thought it would be unfair to give the 10,000 volt ghost like a penalty for not being festive enough if my number one technically wasn't a Christmas monster, you know? Now, I'm sure that some diehard Scooby fans have already commented that I've missed some, and I have an explanation. Episodes like the A Pup Named Scooby-Doo episode Snow Place Like Home were not available on my streaming services at the time of writing this video, and while I've seen most of the ones I've missed before, I felt like it would be unfair to rank them without a current watch. So, if you have access to some episodes like The Ghost of Bigfoot from the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, let me know in the comments where you would place them on this list, and if you think I'm wrong, toss your rankings for these 15 down below. If I've posted this video when I plan to, it should be right around Christmas. So, Merry Christmas.